for joining us today. So before we proceed, we would like to tell that this meeting will be recorded for our assignment purpose. Is it okay, teacher?
Yes, sure.
Okay. Before we start, this assignment is for our English language teaching material subject. So it's we have to interview a secondary school teacher for our assignment purpose.
Right. Okay.
Uh, First of all, can you introduce yourself, teacher, and your background for teaching English?
Okay. Hi, everyone. Okay. So I'm teacher Nuras, or my full name is Nuras Radwan. I graduated with a Bachelor of Education in Teaching English as a Second Language from the University of Warwick in the United Kingdom. Okay. I started teaching back in 2015 at SMK Rompin Pahang for about, I think, around 6 years or 7 years, like that. Okay, and that's also my hometown. And then in 2020, I moved to Perak, and I taught at SMK Rajalok Nur Rashid for 3 years. And currently, I'm teaching at SMK Pekan Baru Parit Bunta. So I think it's about 11 years of teaching experiences. And basically, I've taught different school environments, which has really helped me to grow as a teacher professionally. I mainly teach upper secondary students. My students actually, I think most of them are Form 3 and up to Form 5. Okay. So.
That's great, teacher. So moving on to that, may I know what's your overall teaching experience as a English teacher, and what is the challenging challenges you are facing when teaching English?
Okay, talking about overall teaching experience, I think throughout my teaching journey, I've been actively train students both academically and also curricular activities. I've trained students for debate and also for Nilam program and up to state level. And then I also managed to get my students, get some of them managed to get A plus for my subject, and even helps my students who are fail to pass my English. And then I think this is quite rewarding experience. And one of the, I mean, proudest moment is my students who are pursuing in law right now is recognized as the best oralist at the university. So I think this is basically my teaching experience. Okay, now talking about challenges. Okay, firstly, I think handling different proficiency level is tricky because some students, because it's a mixed background school, so some students struggle with basic grammar and others are uh, advanced. So you need to differentiate constantly. So it's kind of difficult for me and the student as well. Okay, students. Secondly, I think the motivation, because most of them, especially we know, we as a Malaysian, English is not our first language, so we are scared of making mistakes. So we lack of motivation to speak. So I think that's challenges that when teaching English to students. Okay.
I see. Moving on to the next. May I know, teacher, what is the advice would you give to our future ESL teachers for future English teachers?
Okay. Talking about advice, that I would give to is okay. I just about okay. I have been teaching for 11 years, so I think what I see the most is the future ESL teachers should focus on meaningful communication. Materials shouldn't just about, I mean, memorizing rules. So they should help students to speak, to write, and even interact in real life situations. Okay, and then please keep things simple, engaging, and relevant. You should also use visuals, videos, interactive stars, and basically anything that will make students say, okay, this is actually very useful to them. So I think this is more engaging to them and also memorable for you and your student as well. So I think, and one more thing is, please adapt materials to according to their proficiency levels and also their cultural backgrounds. So I think that's all the advice that I would give to teachers in the future. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much, teacher, for answering my friend's question. So right now, okay, first of all, my name is Nor Elaine Sophia. You can call me Sophia, and I'm gonna ask you about general questions related to teaching materials. So the first question is, what types of teaching materials do you usually use in your classroom?
Okay, teaching materials. Of course, the main resources for everyone, for teachers, I think, is textbooks. So I mainly use textbooks, and sometimes I also digital tools like Kahoot, Canva, and also worksheet, of course, and real world materials like videos or newspapers, something like that. Okay, so
How do you choose appropriate materials based on students' proficiency level?
okay, first and foremost, you need to figure out what their level in, and then you adapt the materials according to their levels to cater their needs. Okay, for example, weaker students, you give them a simpler language, while the advanced, you can give them more challenging tasks. So that's how I do it.
All right. Okay, the last question. Do you use digital materials like videos, apps, or slides? And how do those help students?
Okay, talking about digital messaging, of course I do, because I do use it, because this is with the advancements of technology these days. I use like I mostly use Canva or maybe videos, YouTube. I remember that once in my classroom, my students really enjoy when I ask them to make an Instagram style Canva template where they have to post a photo with an 80 word caption. So they really love it, and I think it's my. I think this is more engaging, and it makes them feel like. I think assessing their work is much easier for us rather than we are marking their essays like 40 essays, the same essays like in a row. So I think basically digital materials really help the students.
Okay, thank you so much, teacher, for answering my question.
All right, teacher. So moving on to the skills, I'm going to ask for the first skills, reading skills. So the first question is, what types of reading material do you use usually in your class while teaching English?
Okay, as for reading, I think I usually, of course, I will use textbooks again and again. Okay, and then I think other things that I use, I mean, other materials is newspapers and also short stories. I think.
Uh, so moving on to the next question, what strategy do you use to help students understand the text better when using reading skills?
I think for strategies, for strategy, I usually, okay, I will get students to like during a pre-reading, while reading, and also post-reading. For pre-reading, I will activate their prior knowledge or schemata by giving them meaningful vocab or maybe pictures to help them to have an idea about the what they are going to read. And then while during the while stage, I will ask them to I will help them with the, I mean, contextual, maybe how they guess from the context, and then maybe I help them with the skimming and also scanning. And for the post activities, I will ask them to, I will usually use I will include the digital tools like a Kahoot or quizzes to make them better understanding about the articles. Okay.
All right, teacher, understand. So moving on to the next question, what's the common reading difficulties faced by students when they are reading?
Okay, reading, when we're talking about reading difficulties, I think most students, they have a problem with vocabulary and the main ideas. So this is why I said just now, I help them with the meaningful vocabulary items, and also practice skimming and scanning, and also highlight meaningful words to help them with the reading skills.
Okay, teacher. So for the last question from me, how do you make reading lessons more engaging?
Okay, this is very interesting. I think as for reading, I think this is one of the passive skill, which is students, most of Malaysians find that reading is boring, right? Okay, so I think what I did with my student is I love to do jigsaw reading with a traveling envelope. So what I did is, okay, each group will be given an envelope with part of an article inside it, and then they have with also a series of questions. So in order to answer that questions, they have to pass the envelope and uh, read all the whole article from the envelope and complete the questions. So I think my students feel enjoyable in my class during the jigsaw activity, because because it needs collaborations and it's really fun, because you have to not only just, I mean, focus on reading only.
That's great. Thank you so much, teacher, for answering my questions. So I move to the next to my another friend.
Um, Hi, teacher. My name is Patricia Veronica.
Hi,
So
Patricia.
eh, I'm gonna ask about the writing skills. My questions will be on writing skills. My first question will be, what challenges do students usually face when developing their writing skills? For example, when generating their ideas, organizing the content using grammar.
Okay, I think of out of four skills, I think writing is the most difficult skills to score, right? Okay, so I think most students, especially my students, I think they often struggle with ideas and organizations. Same, I also an examiner, so I think this is the most difficult part that student couldn't achieve. So what I do is I usually use sentence structures and also scaffolding templates to help them to be able to write. Okay.
Thank you, teacher. My second question will be, do you use authentic materials like songs, videos, or real life text in teaching writing? And what do you think, like, how do this help for students?
Okay, of course I do authentic materials, because like I said, if you want something authentic from students, like the students will be more engaging, so you need to use authentic materials like songs, videos, and really helpful. Okay, student, you can respond creatively, like just now, like the one that I said, that I explained on Canva just now. So I think that kind of activities not only enhance their creativity, but also, I mean, they will use their real life language.
Yes, I agree to with what teacher said. My third question will be, how do you ensure writing materials match students' proficiency levels and interests?
Okay, when talking about how do I ensure that materials match my students' proficiency, is that giving them simple prompts, especially for beginners, and then for the advanced learners, you can give them open-ended tasks, and always choose topics that are relevant to them. And nothing kills motivation faster than writing about something that they are like. So you can ask them like maybe something that engaging to them, or maybe related to them, or even something that they like TikTok trends or something.
Thanks for the valuable answer, teacher. My last question will be, what makes a writing activity or instructional material effective and engaging?
So I believe an effective writing, it should be clear, meaningful, and also suited to students' level. So it should connect to real life and allows creativity, include guidance, like giving them models or templates, like I said just now, just to help them to scaffold them and let them more engaging. And you can also include digital tools if you want, like what I did. I used Storybird, one of the application where you can ask students to create story by using that applications.
Thank you, teacher. So my next friend will continue.
Right.
So, Assalamualaikum teacher. So right now, I will ask question about speaking skills. So the first one is, what types of materials do you prefer when teaching speaking skills and why?
Okay, when we're talking about speaking, I think I like to use role play cards and also real life scenarios, and also pictures, maybe short videos, and sometimes I give them discussion prompts. Okay, so this gives them more real communications.
Okay, so for the second one is, how do you ensure speaking activity match student proficiency level?
Like I said for the previous skills, we have to differentiate their level first. Okay, for the beginners, you can get sentence starters for them or vocabulary lists. This will help them to be able to speak, because they normally beginners or novice speaker, they don't have enough vocabulary or ideas to speak. So you need to give them certain sentence starters, or maybe also you can give them a template as well, or model language. Okay, and then for advanced students, you can ask them, you can give something that's more challenging, like debating over a topic or maybe open-ended discussions. So I think, and the most important is when you are doing a grouping, so please group them strategically. Make sure that there is a weaker and also good students. We can help them. I mean, they can encourage a peer support within them.
Okay, so for the last question is, how do you make speaking activities more engaging?
Okay, of course, games. You can use games, and I remember that I did mock interviews for my students back then during the MCO. So this is very interesting, because they submitted their CVs and as if they are attending a real interviews like this. So I think this is very interesting, and they did very well. And I also ask them to do project-based learning and also problem solving tasks. So we try to make it fun and low pressure, because we want students to speak more when they are laughing, when they are enjoying their lessons.
Okay, thank you, teacher.
Okay, so for this next skills is the listening skills. So the first question is, what challenges do students face in listening comprehension?
Okay, listening. Okay, when we're talking about listening skill, or also another passive skill. So I think the challenges that my students face or other students face as well. I think the fast speed, the unfamiliar accents and limited vocabularies, and also losing focus. Basically, everything that makes English comprehension is brain workout. So they can even that's the challenges that they face.
All right, understand. Okay, the next question is, what listening materials do you usually use? Audio, videos, or songs?
Of course, audio provided by because these days we have exercise book together with the audios materials and also a podcast. Sometimes I also use song, and another one is one more website. I don't know whether you have tried it or not, because it calls lyricstraining.com. I've been using it. Lyricstraining.com is very interesting, where students they can listen to the song and they have to fill in the blanks. So I think that's a very interesting platform. I think it's kind of a lifesaver to me, I think, because not only students can sing along, sometimes they also off key. I mean, off pitch, right?
Okay, so the last question is, do you use platforms like YouTube and how does it help students?
Okay, for listening, I think I use lyrics training, and sometimes I use YouTube. But YouTube maybe something on recent issues, and I think it helps a lot student because the topic that I choose for them for listening is something that attracts them. So I think it helps them to with the learning of listening.
All right, thank you so much, teacher.
Okay, so we're moving on to the last part of our interview. My name is Ani Sofia, and I will be asking you questions about grammar. So, for the first question is, how do you usually teach grammar? Like, do you use memorizations or do you explain in detail about the grammar rules? And what materials do you usually use?
Okay. I teach grammar contextually using text, dialogues, worksheets, or even their essays. I mean, I take their essays and then I ask them to correct it. And sometimes I ask them to work in press and correct their friends' essays. I really ask grammar. I mean, solely. I mean, separately.
I see. And then, what are the most common grammar mistakes that your students make? Like, is it tenses or pronouns? Can you give an example and tell me why do you think they make those mistakes?
Uh, Okay, I think most of my students, I think most of us as well, we have a problem with the subject verb agreement, wrong use of tenses, and even articles. I think this problem because of my students is basic a majority Indians and also Malays. So I think they directly translated the language from from their first language. So that's the problem that they face.
I see, I agree. And for the third question, do you use activities like peer correction or group work when teaching grammar, and how do you think they help?
Okay, like I said just now, I use a lot of peer correction because during my days, my teacher as well asked me to do a peer correction because peer correction will really help you to be more aware of the mistake that you do. And I think when you check your friends essay rather than you are corrected by your teachers, you feel how to say like not belittled by maybe you like shy. So I think by asking your friends to check your grammar, you will feel be more confident and happier.
I agree. And for the last question, how do you adapt these activities to suit your students' levels?
um how do I adapt? So I think for simpler, I will give simpler examples and guided practice for beginners as well. And then for complex structures and editing tasks for advanced learners. So that's how I adapt the activity, so that students, everyone can learn the grammar and understand the grammar. Okay.
I see. So I think that's all for our questions, and that concludes our interview. Thank you so much for your time, teacher, and for your valuable insights. And we truly appreciate your contribution and your time for spending it with us today.
So, and I
For
really okay, thank you very much for giving me. I hope that I really help you guys with this interview. So all the best and best of luck. Okay,
Thank
bye.
you so
Hari
much,
Raya.
teacher.
thank you
Thank
so
you
much,
so much,
teacher.
teacher. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Assalamualaikum.